But the Kenyan manufacturing industry or sector is a critical contributor to the Kenyan GDP. However, there has been stagnation in the last 20 plus years because the contribution of GDP to manufacturing still stands at around 8.5%. There has been a deliberate effort by the government to try and push these to about 20% by the year 2030. But this is looking like it's a long shot. We'll be exploring all the options on the table and what we need to do to jumpstart manufacturing, bearing in mind that we are facing the fourth industrial revolution and Kenya cannot afford to be left behind. That's a conversation we should be having here. And of course, we'll be retracing the drive to boost manufacturing here in Kenya, way back up to the sessional paper number 10 of 1965. What did he talk about in terms of driving the industrial agenda here in Kenya? And also something else very interesting that we shall be looking here is the artificial intelligence in agriculture. You got it right. You know, when you look at the Kenyan agriculture sector, you're talking about 7.5 million smallholder farmers. They don't even have any formal education. But you want to integrate AI into agriculture. How do you drive all that matrix to ensure that no one is left behind? This is a serious stuff that we are discussing here. You're watching this check live from Broadcasting House. Let me tell you something. We've been having the visitation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla since when? They arrived here on Monday evening, right? And today they are in Mombasa. What are they doing in Mombasa? We have our team on the ground. They shall be giving us an update. Plus, the president also is in Mombasa. Not actually Mombasa, but in Kericho County, so he's at the coast. And so he is on a development mission there. What kind of an agenda is the president having? I told you this is Base Check. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We are live from Broadcasting House. We have our teams on the ground of reporters, and we shall be crisscrossing the country just to find out what news is making headlines in those counties. I told you something about the manufacturing agenda here in Kenya. We are here to discuss this concept. And guess who is on the set with us today? We have Lawrence Jenga. He's the head of communication at Kenya Association of Manufacturers. This is the largest platform for manufacturers in Kenya. It has been around for more than 60 years. And so you know for sure it's a key driver in the industrialization agenda. Lawrence, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Very good indeed. And next to Lawrence, we have Ednan Merdin. He's the CEO or the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Dr. Mattress. Yes, they're in the business of making mattresses. And he was telling me that they have even diversified. Now they have moved into furniture making. That tells you that they are growing. They have been around for 10 years now. And we shall be looking at what exactly is the next 10 years likely to look like for Dr. Mattress. Ednan Merdin, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be here with us.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
And I want to start with you. I mean, you're from Turkey.
Yes.
You've been around for 10 years. How has the journey been for you in terms of setting up your East African industrial base here in Kenya, and of course the progress that you have made in the last decade?
Okay, first of all, 10 years is for the company. I myself have been here, this is my 37th year. And proudly Turkish Kenyan. I'm a Kenyan citizen at the same time. 10 years has been, journey with the company has been great. The response from the clients have been great. In fact, I can thank all my clients from here. If they were not there, we will not grow this size. I believe Dr. Mattress is proof to Kenya that manufacturing agenda can be successful, the one that government is trying to implement. So we have achieved what we call vertical integration in our manufacturing. And we had a slogan, we still have it for mattress, but for the overall company, the mattress slogan was better sleep, better health. But for the overall company now, together with diversification, we are calling it Made in Kenya, made by Kenyans for the rest of the world. So we believe we stand as Dr. Matters approved that things can be manufactured in Kenya.
Very good.
Yes.
And you were telling me that every year your sales stands at about 50,000 mattresses on average.
About
50,000.
Yes.
Well, I'll be coming back to find out, more about, your venture here in Kenya. Some of the challenges that you have encountered along the process and how you managed to wiggle out, and what kind of better policies that we need to institute in place so that we can ensure that we attract more investors to set up the industrial base here in Kenya.
Thank you. I'll be glad to share.
Very good. If you're just watching us, joining us, you're about 5 minutes late because we are live on Base Check. We want to go to Lonro House, where the cooperatives and MSMEs Cabinet Secretary Chelugui is unveiling the Uwezo Fund board. Let's listen in, and then we'll be back here for more.
Digitalization process soon. In the same breath, I challenge you to align your documents to MTP4 and 5th Generation Strategic Plan guidelines and the Government Development Agenda realization of the overall government objective in the SME sector. It is expected that our priorities must now align with the priority value chains that have been identified, and funding to MSMEs also needs to align with these value chains. In addition to the above, I challenge you to create partnerships and collaborations and with other stakeholders to enhance the reach and impact of the fund and monitor and evaluate performance of the fund to ensure it meets its objectives. So, Madam Chair and Honorable and board members and the senior members of staff, I've talked about technology. I've talked about re-engineering our business processes, and I've talked about partnership. With the experience that you have, with the success track record behind you, you could easily persuade many partners to support and join in supporting the model that you've championed and pioneered and championed, and is and supported by the stakeholders, can be scaled up through partnership. And so we need to open up, and the Ministry of Cooperative and MSME are on standby to hold your hand and work with you where you need any support to secure partnerships. The ministry stands with you. And equally, I'm aware of other issues like the human resource instruments, the transition, and setting the fund to stand on its own feet. And these are discussions that we are having. I know of the progress we've made. We will do our part as a ministry to ensure those needs and desires of this board are delivered. I think beyond that, we should also synchronize the program so that we can all be part and parcel of this success story. And you need to then engage your first customers, the members of parliament, during delivery and distribution of checks to benefit, to support the communities. We occasionally, not in all the events, would be happy to be part of the same so that we can deliver as one the wishes and the promise of Kenya Kwanza. You know, our president is passionate about bottom-up, and it is our wish that we don't let him down. It's our wish that we all rally ourselves to that goal, overall goal of supporting those at the bottom of the pyramid. So in conclusion, I want to urge all the appointed board members to remain diligent in their duties. I expect, and I think most of you have experience across other sectors, the board will play their role to provide oversight to the management and not pretend or act like management. The management should also not pretend and act like the board. So there is a distinct, clear separation of roles.
Well, that's the Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives and SMEs, Simon Chelugui, unveiling the board of Uwezo Fund. Well, we'll give you more details in the course of the day. We are back in studio where our conversation this morning revolves around the manufacturing agenda here in Kenya, how to deepen manufacturing and, of course, how to attract more investors to invest in manufacturing. Edinan Meredin is a CEO and founder of Dr. Mattress, and we're also in the company of Lawrence Jenga, who is the head of communications at Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We have heard from you, Mehdi. I mean, your journey in setting up their East African operations here in Kenya. Now I want to turn to Jenga. I mean, when you look at Kenya Association of Manufacturers, what is the agenda of KAM in driving the industrialization or manufacturing agenda here in Kenya?
Okay, thank you so much, Brian. Well, as you rightly put it, Kenya Association of Manufacturers is an umbrella body, representing over 1,300 members. And we are talking about local manufacturers who are involved in local manufacturing and value add of product. So one of our biggest mandates is basically to help our members be set to be able to grow the manufacturing sector and manufacturing agenda. And you mentioned, as you were starting off, that true manufacturing sector has been declining in terms of contribution to GDP. And we are looking at how then can manufacturing sector, being a key agenda for this economy, how can we grow our economy through manufacturing? Because when you look at manufacturing, yes, there's been some decline. If you were to look from the statistics from maybe 2011, where manufacturing was at about 9.3% contribution to GDP, slowing down to around 7.8 in the year 2002. However, that does not mean that manufacturing has been shrinking. It has also been meaning that other sectors have been growing. So we sat with the president last year, in the last quarter of last year, and we challenged ourselves together with the government that how can we then move manufacturing, contribution to GDP from 7.8% to about 30%, 20% by the year 2030. And as KAM, after sitting down and getting the mandate from the board, we realized that we can only grow this through 4 key areas or 4 key pillars. And in here, we're looking at first, global competitiveness. This is ensuring that our local enterprises, local industries are able to produce goods in the right quality, in the right price that can compete in anywhere in this world. So you're looking at competing in markets in Europe, in the US, when you're looking, for example, in Africa with the AFCTA a market opening up. So we want our Kenyan enterprises, our Kenyan businesses to compete anywhere in the world. Secondly, and I'll go quickly, is export-led growth. And I'm happy that the cabinet in December last year adopted this as a strategy to grow our economy. So we're looking at how can we then improve our industries to be of more, to look in outward, not just in Kenya, but look at other opportunities that we have. We have the European market, we have the African market, COMESA, ESC, and it's a big opportunity for us. So we are looking also in terms of how can we enable our manufacturers, to take advantage, for example, if it's agriculture, value add, and basically be able to export these products in value-added form, so that then also we can create more value. Number 3 also is agriculture for industry. And here we are looking at how can we integrate our industries and link them backward so that they can be linked with our farmers. For example, a lot of our millers, as you know, and I think this is something that we've been challenged, especially the last 1 or 2 years as a country, have been getting challenges of getting the raw materials for their production. So we are looking at how can we link our farmers, remove the middleman, and ensure that our manufacturers and the farmer have a good synergy to be able to be an answer for our manufacturers. And lastly, we are looking at SME development. I mean, for us to be able to grow the country, the only people who can help us this is through SMEs. Large manufacturers such as Dr. Matres all started small. So we are looking at how can we incubate this. And as you look at, for example, as the CS who is just speaking right now, we are looking at how can the country, this is a hustler government, how can we ensure that the small player grows to be a large manufacturer. And that is the way we feel and we know that we're going to grow the manufacturing sector. And we're not just looking at just numbers of 20%. If you look at them in terms of real value, we are looking at manufacturing currently is the second largest employer for waged employees after government. We are looking at 353,000 jobs. Now we feel, and once we did our checks and our numbers, we feel like manufacturing by the year 2030 growing by 20% of contribution to GDP. We are looking at 1 million jobs creation. We're looking at over 1 trillion shillings, contribution to the exchequer, and also looking in terms of the value output of the manufacturers or the manufacturing sector to over 6 trillion. I mean, those are not just just mere numbers. Those are real numbers that we believe that can help this country grow.
And I like the fact that you have managed to enumerate the strategies that KAM together with the government is going to employ to try and deepen the contribution of manufacturing to our GDP. But help me understand this. Yeah. How do you plan to do these, bearing in mind that out of every 10 products that are sold in the Kenyan market, 7 are imported.
Yes.
And this is a deterioration from what was there about 20 years ago, where we used to have about 4 imported and 6 manufactured here in Kenya. How do you plan to drive this?
Absolutely. As I just rightly said, now we live in a global village. We have linkages. The world is a global village right now. So you find like if as a country we are not prepared well, then you get a lot of influx, of imports into the country. But we are working with the government in setting up policies that are geared to pro-local manufacturing as opposed to importation of finished products. And this has been an ongoing practice with the government, which we are happy to. But also we are also helping our internal local manufacturers build capacities to be able to take these opportunities. Because like I've said, when we are able to be globally competitive, there is no reason why we should not compete with China. There's no reason we should not compete in the US. So we are looking therefore at building the capacity within our local industries, building the right investments, and also looking at the government to creating the right fiscal policies to protect the local manufacturers.
But I mean, we must also be alive to these facts.
Yes.
We can't talk about competing with countries like China.
Why not?
You're looking at an economy that is almost 18 trillion US dollars,
yes,
and about 1.3 billion people, concentrated in one country.
Yes.
And here you're looking at a country called Kenya, whose GDP is less than 120 billion US dollars,
yes,
and about 60 million people. I know that Kenya is a member of the World Trade Organization, whereby, there are rules that are supposed to guide, intra-country trade and inter-country trade.
Yes.
But that doesn't stop, countries from employing protectionism,
yes,
to try and prop up some of their critical industries.
Absolutely.
Are we looking at a situation whereby this is likely to be the way we are going? Because look at, for example, at the US. The US is always very fast in employing tactics and policies that are going to protect their auto industry,
yes,
their ICT industry. Why can't we do the same?
Absolutely, and I think this is a good challenge, even to our government. And I'm rightly so. We can see strides by the government, moving towards that direction, because for you to be able to protect your local investment, if you look at countries, for example, like Indonesia, you're looking at countries that put tax measures, to discourage exportation of raw products, for example, and ensuring that you add value addition to your products before you export. So if you look at Kenya, we need to therefore look at what are the things that we can do as Kenyans that we do better than the other parts of the world. If you look at products, for example, like tea, for example, we have about 5%, only 5% of tea is exported out of Kenya in processed form. 95% of the tea is exported in raw form. So therefore, as government, we have to work with government, with the industry, of course with the private sector, and ensuring that some of these things that we can be able to take quickly advantage of, the low-hanging fruits, that if we today, for example, value added our tea and ensured that every tea that leaves this country, and the president has been very clear that I want the tea that is living in Kenya to be processed, then it means we have better returns. And if you look at it, better returns to the manufacturer, better returns to the government, and better returns to the to the local farmers. And that's just one of the sectors. If you, for example, look at leather sector, we slaughter a lot of animals year on, but we lose our leather. If you compare that to countries like Italy, countries that, for example, have probably 5 or 10% of leather, in their country. But if you look at the output of what they do with that 5%, is enormous. We are importing shoes from Turkey, isn't it? If you look at Kenyan market, for example, every year we have 4 million shoes produced or imported for school-going children. If you only just took advantage of that 4 million, imagine how much that can mean for the economy. Yes, you're right. The government needs to create policies that are favorable for local investment, and also to protect the local investment, because that's the only way we can do. Every country is doing that. Look at Egypt; it's doing a lot of policies geared towards exportation and protecting the local investment. And even Kenya, we have to do the same.
Very good. We'll be coming back for more, so that we'll also be trying to get some lessons from how Turkey has managed to prop up its manufacturing industry. It's one of the biggest industrialized nations in Europe. We shall be looking at that. We just now want to dash over to the county of Kisumu. Remember, today is the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. Our reporter is Achola Simon. He's talking to Victor Bwire of Media Council of Kenya. Let's listen into that conversation. To the
you're right, O'Brien. This is the day that stakeholders in the Fourth Estate are reflecting on various issues surrounding the players in the sector, and I specifically mean journalists, and more importantly, they're discussing on how they can actually end violence and impunity against journalists. Now, of course, with me here is the Deputy CEO of Media Council of Kenya, an institution that, of course, has been casting its eyes on the sector in the country, and of course, he'll be shedding more light on exactly what has been happening in the sector. But before I get to him, O'Brien, very important statistics that I want to put across, that as we speak right now, about 109 journalists have actually, instances of violence and impunity against journalists have actually been reported. The latest, of course, that happened around the demonstrations that are actually happening in the country, about 25 of instances are actually recorded in the country. That tells you exactly what journalists in this country are facing. And Deputy CEO of Media Council of Kenya, Victor Bwire, is here to actually shed light on why this day is very important.
Thank you, colleague. One, that the International Day for Impunity and Crimes Against Journalists is marked on November every year. It's a global day that was set aside. And this day is to help journalists and the media sector and the country at large to review and look at the status of safety and protection of journalists, the work of journalists, and related. And like you mentioned, Kenya, we have one of the most progressive, as we are aware, laws that would then, from the eye, give thinking that Kenya is one of the most safest places journalists can work. But from the experience, what is happening, that while we have laws, while we have noticed the trends that is no longer the main government that has attacks journalists or harasses journalists, but we are seeing a huge increase in attacks against journalists.
Why is it so?
Largely from members of the public who are incited against, especially the political class, when they incite and mobilize and weaponize people against to believe that one media house is not for them or one media house does not support them, and we see a lot of increase. So people are taking law into their hands to attack journalists simply because they have been mobilized. We are seeing the issue of criminal gangs, thieves, thugs, who then again also target journalists, not just necessarily because of their stories, but sometimes they expose what they are doing, or two, journalists carry equipment like cameras, like watch that are very expensive. So people are targeting. And so the number of cases of physical attacks is more then followed by obviously digital, that a number of journalists belong to WhatsApp group, social media, and when you do a story, for example, that you exposed something in Kisumu County or nationally, then the political supporters then target you on the WhatsApp groups you belong to, on social media, start trolling you, vibes, bringing in your relatives and all that. So that is, and the biggest now becomes that leads to threats against journalists themselves in the sense of self-censorship. You fear doing particular stories because you think political supporters from a particular group will attack you. And because most of you work in localized areas, most of our journalists work in the areas they come from. So people know you. So once you do a story, they will go and pick a photo of your mom, your relative, or a child in school and start putting them, like that, your dad is writing about the government, but look at how you look like, shaming your family. And so that has but obviously there are also internal challenges. Like sometimes we have been talking about poor pay, but now it has reached a non-payment that journalists work for several months without being paid. If we are saying that content is the queen, we want people to come back to the media, we want professionalism is the queen, we must pay people well for them to enable them to do good content that then will bring back the viewers and readers. But that's not happening. So a number of journalists that has led to what now on the mental health issues, that a number of people are stressed because of non-payment. You work long hours, the work environment newsroom is so toxic and hostile, and so we see an increase also in mental health related issues around journalists, that a number of journalists have now to go through mental wellness and the rest. And you see now when somebody is going through a mental state, it also affects their productivity. And once the productivity, we are seeing very young journalists being declared redundant. And you see, when somebody declares you redundant, even getting another job becomes a problem. So at
the age of 30, someone is declaring you redundant. Of course, we know the effects of that. Victor, the question that begs is that this constitution, the constitution we have in this country, as you've rightly put it, is one of the most progressive across the globe. And of course, some of its clauses actually protect journalists. Why is it that we are still experiencing these problems?
The biggest problem is impunity, and that's why we are marking this day. Impunity. It's not that people don't know. If you read your constitution, away from Article 33, 34, 35, if you go to Article like 27, 28, they provide for labor laws, right to life, right to health, but people are just, they know prosecution is a problem, that cases that journalists are involved, prosecutors never take them seriously. They never push them. So there's a level of I'll injure Simon, nothing will happen to me. I'll break their camera, nothing will happen to me. So we saw yesterday, only 2 days, a journalist was summoned by ATP and terrorism police unit in Garissa. National guy in Baringo spent the whole, he's still in cells up to today. And nothing happened, and they have not done anything. Even the lawyers, even we journalists, nobody's there. So the issue of impunity is the major problem.
At national level, the constitution has provisions that actually protect journalists, right? In this country, unfortunately, we only have about one county or two that have actually gone ahead and actually legislated laws county laws that actually protect journalists and access to information. What needs to be done so that then we can actually extend the process?
We must work together, and one of the things I've just talked about here, the Deputy Governor of Kisumu, that counties need county-based access to information laws. Already County Government Act of 2012, if you read largely from section 94, 95, it provides that counties must work with the media. They must allow journalists to do their work. But we now need a county-based access to information law. And what we are appealing to counties is that access to information does not mean that people are coming to write on corruption and loss of public. The access to information, if you use it can help the county to share information about investment opportunities, climate change matters, weather changes, opportunities, so that it will be one of the areas to attract investors in your county. If you use the access to information law, become transparent in the manner you do, it will even help people to give you feedback where things are going wrong. As a leadership of a county, you can then intervene. But if we refuse to pass some of these laws, it becomes difficult for you as a public leader to know, to get feedback, to involve the public in governance, and to show your country as a place where people can invest in.
The other argument, Victor, has been the issue of training. And I've heard several people saying that journalists of today are not like you guys. The way they actually practice journalism is not how it used to be practiced.
Well, that is our Kisumu-based reporter, Simon Achola there, talking to the CEO of Media Council of Kenya, Victor Bwire, on the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. We'll be giving you more details in regard to that. We are back in studio. Our conversation this morning revolves around driving Kenya's manufacturing agenda. Lawrence Jenga is the head of communications at Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and to be also in the company of Ednan Meredin. He's the CEO and founder of Dr. Mattress. I want to turn to you now. You're from Turkey, and Turkey is a big economy. You're looking at the 17th largest economy in the world and the 7th largest economy in Europe, with a nominal GDP of about $1.3 trillion US, and a purchasing power parity of about $3.6 trillion US. And so you're talking about a major economic powerhouse. What drove you to set up your base in Kenya, as opposed to Turkey, whereby you have a bigger middle class?
That's a very good question, actually. And that question can also answer partly the opportunities here. So now, if you talk about Turkey, in layman's language, I will explain in the way of, we say, all the corners are taken. So there are big players there. The manufacturing evolved, and they reached to a level. I don't want to touch sensitive matters in terms of colonization, past of Kenya. Kenyan's past is taken away. People's mentality is taken away. I look more into the positive things. So when I came here, I couldn't buy, that was year 1987, I couldn't buy sofa set because it was quite expensive. And in my own ways, I discovered Gikomba, Kantiba Station. And because in Turkey, now to answer partly your question, why manufacturing is developing there, is we have a culture. And now in my business here in Kenya, I'm applying that culture. What is that culture? The culture is that the child, in their free time, they go to do apprenticeship in industries. At that young age, they're exposed. So they ask me, how come I know almost every field? I am that product. From the age of 6, 7, I've been in factories. So now, why did I set up a shop here? God brought me here. That part is a long story. When I was in Gikomba as early as 1987.
87?
87, yes. 1987, I saw huge talent. I see that talent still here in Kenya. We talk about Jua Kali. Since I'm in a Kenyan broadcasting, I don't need to explain Jua Kali.
Yes.
And even today, when I'm driving, with all that technology I have in my factory, I say that gentleman or that lady at the roadside is doing better job than what I'm doing in my factory. I'm not talking about the last finishing, but please let us have the comparison. Given the opportunities, given the facilities, that person is making his own tool. From that tool, he's making his own machine, and he's coming up with his own design, whether he's looking at magazine or this, but he's seeing that, visualizing it. We have CNC machines. We have something called code writing. So you have the image, you have to put that image into the computer turns it into the code goes to the numerical numbers go to the machine, and the machine cuts accordingly. Now imagine that gentleman or that lady at the roadside is doing this mentally. So when I saw that in 1987, I kept on telling myself, we need manufacturing in this country. Then another advantage, English. So I went to colonial thing. Yes, British were here, and this is my own little thinking, my own analyzing that they left English here. Turkey, if they solve their English problem, their GDP will go 5 times higher. And that problem is already solved here. So we get fresh students from in that apprentice and attachment program. We get, I'm a graduate of Polytechnic myself. I'm a graduate of, now I think today it's called National Technical University of Kenya, the one Haile Selassie here.
Oh.
I was there for 3 years. That's where I learned Turkish, and that's where I became to know Kenya. And that is when I decided that I will remain in this country. So the English is so important that this is now to support him, that we can fight China, if we say, use that word of fighting, to answer your question.
We can compete.
Yes. So we can compete in the sense that we don't have to compete globally, but we look at our own continent here, Africa. So we can become China. Kenya can become China for the rest of African countries. And our company, Dr. Matters, is approved to that. So now we get that student in the level of second year, third year, and have that student do attachment in our factory. The moment that student graduates, he is in our factory. And with the right mindset, with the right vertical integration process, theory, and application, the result is Dr. Matters. So we do have that hope. But then in that hope, we need the support of the government. We need more support of CAM. Yeah. So we have two. It takes, there's a saying, it takes 2 to tango.
Yep.
I see
and
a lot
tango
of
is a dance.
Yes. I see a lot of blame to put towards the government. But I look at myself first and I say, the commercial sector, first of all, has to straighten itself. You said yourself, in some years back, it was 4 to 6. Today is 3 to 7. So as a commercial people, we have to take responsibility, and we have to have some sacrifices.
That we have to make.
We have to make.
And I like the fact that you're saying that, I mean, you know, there's the role of the government in driving up, you know, better policies, investing in proper infrastructure, and let's give it to the government. You know, when you look at the last 15 years, 20 years, there has been massive investment in broadening our infrastructure, in modernizing our infrastructure. There is a lot of expansion that has gone into the port of Mombasa. There is a new railway line, you know, from the port of Mombasa all the way to Nairobi, to Naivasha. There is a whole new highway. I mean, there is a brand new port at the port of Lamu. And so the government has been doing a lot. The government has also been trying to reform our investment climate by coming up and developing proper regulations. And we have seen this with Companies Act, investment policies. And so then, are there other grey areas that you feel that we need to work on as a country in order to create a conducive environment for investors to come in?
There are. And as you said, I agree with you, we give it to government. Kenya, I used to say Kenya is a young country, and somebody corrected me. Kenya is a baby, 60 years old, baby. And
60 years old,
yes,
and still a baby.
You see, look, we are receiving the British King. How many years? You are talk about Turkey. In my ways, if I look at Kenya and Turkey, I think Kenya is doing well.
Yes, compared to where Turkey was when it was 60 years.
you see,
during the
I look
Ottoman
at it this
Empire.
way. There's Ottoman Empire, before Ottoman Empire, there's Seljuk Empire, before Seljuk Empire, the Han Empire, you see, and we were never colonized, and we have been manufacturing. You remember I said the past is stolen in Kenya? So my great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather had some sort of skills. And then he was able to apply those skills in private sector. He was able to sell, manufacture. So when you look at it from that angle, I think with the sources we have, if Kenya will do better and will catch up better in the sense of we say we are all mad, but degree matters. Better in the sense of the process of how we can grow the country, yeah, and with the resources of human talent here. We don't have petrol, we don't have diamond, but we have Kenyan employees. We have Kenyan youth. Kenyan youth is the diamond and gold for me. To answer your question, is that government is doing well to a degree. The gray areas have to be addressed very quickly, especially in manufacturing. So in the sense of trying to protect, if I analyze, we have locally manufactured, then we have locally manufactured, but it is manufactured here but do not meet the international standard. Then we have locally manufactured in that international standard, it is not to the economies of scale.
Yeah.
When it is not economies of scale, the cost of the component, if I take the example of mattress, in mattress we have 6-7 different components. The reason Dr. Mattress has become successful, I have realized I am not able to get the international standard components, and I was importing. Then I said, the only way we can succeed here is to start producing those components locally. Yes. Now there, I can give you one of the policy that the government put in is very good. When you bring in machinery, that machinery is 100% reduced from your tax at the end of the year. Or maybe there's 50% first, 25% the second year. Yeah. But the challenge is now, the fellow on the roadside, how is he going to buy that machine? So I will challenge the banks here, and I will challenge the government here. How can we promote that fellow at the roadside to reach to that cheap money? That's number one. Number two, in terms of the government is protecting local manufacturer and applying the duties. Yeah? But then the government and CAM and any other organization similar to CAM, we should come together and look at those gray areas. One of the gray area, yes, I can make the investments, but some of the investments are not visible yet. I give you an example. We bring the mattress fabric. Fabric is not produced here. I need to make that.
So you import that?
We import that. I used to import the spring. Then God enabled us, the responsibility that I said. We did not eat, we did not spend, we did not buy cars. We put all our money in that machine. One machine enabled us to get the second and third. We did not live in luxury.
For making the coil springs.
Exactly, for making the coil spring. The same thing goes to the CNC cutting machine, the same thing goes to CNC combining machine and blah, blah. All that is in place now. What we import in there is the fabric. And that fabric here, now that's the gray area. And it's very simple. It's gray, but it's very simple. Government has to take one step ahead. CAM, they can use CAM in that. We need to have what we call the inspectors. So where I'm coming to that inspector thing. The fabric is subjected to 25% duty. Now, that
when it is imported.
Where it is imported. That 25% duty actually, because of the that avalanche, there's something called FOB, there's something called CIF, meaning you buy, you pay, you put in the container, the transportation cost, freight cost, coming to the port, this blah blah, it goes to 50 to 70%. So you're buying something for $10, it's costing you at $17 here. Yeah, that $17, if you want to export,
You're not competitive.
is already chopping your head off.
Yeah.
And why is it impossible to get the fabric in Kenya?
The investment for the time being, so the dynamics work like this. You need to import first, you need to create the demand, and somebody like yourself or like him or any other manufacturer see that demand, then he says, yes, I have this money, I can go to the bank, then I can make this investment. That is how it works all over the world.
Very well.
There's one more thing I want to say.
Yes, quickly.
So if that fabric comes in at that cost, and we make the matters here, and if we are protected, you see, I'm going to call myself, if I'm protected 100%, understand? Then I am only able to sell in the local market, but I'm not able to export. So my responsibility is to make the D mattress with the D highest technology, apply all the economies of scale. Then the government comes in and says, okay, for this aspect, since it is not being produced in this country, I give you duty remission. Now I can give you examples of Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. Actually, producers now in those countries in the next 2-3 years can't kill Dr. Matters. We are actually, the reason we are diversifying is to protect ourselves, to increase basket volume. Otherwise, we are afraid for future. Today, we have mattresses coming from Uganda for low-income people and flooding Kisumu. That is one thing. That's local market now. But then you say China. We can actually beat China in their game here. We can export from here to America. I'm talking about only mattress business. 70% of mattress consumption in America is pulled from China. Why can't we get 5% of that? Why can't we get 10%?
And we have the capacity to do that.
But then I will challenge my CAM. I'm a member, and I'm a CAM also. So I'm saying I'm challenging my CAM. The exhibition we are doing is very good. We have received the PSS and this.
The CSS,
Few seconds. We receive them, few seconds. We need that attention. We are inviting them to our factories. They need to come and see what is being done here. CAM has to be more active in this. We have to really drive this agenda, and we can succeed.
Very good. Because I can see we're almost coming to the tail end of this conversation, I want to hear from Jenga. I mean, for the longest time in this country, manufacturers have always decried, high inflation, high production cost, high energy cost, competition from imported goods, and so on. How are you engaging the government to ensure that these issues are being addressed?
Right, thank you, Brian. Just picking up from what my friend and our member has just mentioned, the answer to that and how we're looking at it, one, we're not fighting with government, we are looking for a collaboration. And we work with government, from day in, day out, to just try and find, what is best for the industry. What are we asking our government, and what we are working with our government is creating a conducive business environment for local industry to thrive. And what do I mean by this? And I'll just give you like 2 or 3 examples. When you look, for example, at our fiscal policy, when you look at the policies you're making, what we are saying and what our members are saying is we need to ensure that our fiscal policy or our policies are predictive in such a way that an investor like Dr. Mattress can be able to make an investment with a full knowledge of what will Kenya fiscal policy be like 5 years from now. Because one of the challenges we're having, and we understand that the government has a responsibility to collect taxes, deal with the other obligations on expenditure and all that. But what you're asking is, if you don't look at that, if you look, for example, we are just dealing with the effects of the Finance Act 2023, but we are already talking about the MTR, the medium-term revenue strategy, and coming with so many proposals on what we need to tax. Before even we take the shocks of that Finance Act, we already now taking proposals for Finance Act 2024. So then what that does is that if I'm an investor, I'm going to be a bit shy in putting my money in a place whereby I'm not very comfortable or understanding what's the fiscal, the policy going to be, and that is one. Number two, for us, then the government has to create a conducive environment by enabling the necessary infrastructure to enable manufacturing. The biggest cost to manufacturing, as Dr. Matres has mentioned, is the high cost of production in Kenya. Then how do you address that? And you don't need to go far. Pick one of the aspects, the cost of power. Our cost of power has been increasing day in, day out. Mm-hmm. Power is a key ingredient in manufacturing, isn't it? Then when you look ourselves, as Dr. Matres is saying, if he has to be able to compete with Uganda, with Tanzania, with Egypt, because you're looking at AfCFTA, it's a free trade market. We're looking at a GDP worth over $2.7 billion, $1 trillion. Then we have to enable him to be able to be competitive and have an edge of our neighbors. And he cannot be able to do that if the few input costs are higher than our neighbors are having. Then we have to enable him to be competitive. He's producing quality goods, but then how does he compete with our neighbors if we are talking about export? And that is the other thing. And then the third one is, as is mentioned, is also looking into expanding our market access. He's rightly mentioned, right now we are doing a local summit, manufacturing summit and expo, the Changamuka Festival at KCC, beginning from 31st to 2nd of November, where we're looking into, bridging the gap between the manufacturer, the producers, with the consumer. We're inviting the consumers, come see what our local manufacturers are able to do. Come and enjoy the same quality that Dr. Matres will be able to export. Come and enjoy the same clothes that the Americans buy that are made in Kenya. That it is possible for us Kenyans to enjoy the high quality goods, favorable prices, and also appreciate what our local manufacturing is capable of doing. So therefore, Brian, looking forward, we are working with government. We are in constant conversation. It's an engagement process that we are doing, and just trying to and see how we can do this. And credit where it's due. Government has taken a lot of our proposals. Every year the government listens to our proposals. But what we are saying is we still have a room to do more. Mm-hmm. We can still do more to be able to beat our competitors. If Egypt, who are looking at the market in the AfCFTA, free trade area market, have a better edge than Kenya, then we lose out as a country. So we have to ensure that we are competitive enough by lowering the cost of production and making the business environment conducive for local manufacturing to thrive.
Very good. Edinan, before we wrap it up.
I just want to comment something on what my member saying here.
You do that once I conclude my my question to you. I want you to tie what he has said with what I'm going to hear from you. I mean, when you look at the future of manufacturing in Kenya, what do you see? And I want you to tie it up with what Lawrence has said.
What Mr. Jenga said, that the credit is due to the government. And you explained very well that there's only that gray area. So I think we need the commercial, private sector, manufacturers need to be more transparent, and then they need to go to the government. My experience is every time I go to Kenya Bureau of Standards, every time I go to KRA, as long as my point is valid, I get help. Oh. So I think that's the key. The key is the transparency. The key is having to do what, in terms of if it is demanufacturing, what America is doing, what China is doing, is what we need to do here. The gray area is that I'm requesting government to have more interaction with us. I'm requesting if they have that interaction, then they will understand, then the policies will come in better, and then we will be enabled. I see there's a pull and push a little bit. Government needs revenue, the government needs taxation, and then now what is the easiest taxation? The easiest taxation is pot, yeah? So, but then in some cases, that pot taxation is like killing the chicken, which is giving golden egg. In my case, in our case, in Kenya, we haven't reached to the golden egg. We are talking about the normal egg. We want to sell that egg and we want to make money, and the chicken keeps on giving that egg. What I mean is that if we have that interaction, if we have that platform with the government, and we create that value chain, meaning in some cases, like the Ugandan government doing, the Rwandan government doing, if we have those remissions, but proper, transparent, without hurting any local manufacturer, if we bring all the players on the table, and then have that delegation or have that inspection body to go to the factories and inspect properly, then we will have extra employees. Dr. Mattes is a bit evident to that. In 2014, we had 7 employees. Now, less than 10 years down, we have reached almost to 700 employees. Mm-hmm. If we were paying X VAT, now we are paying 10 times X VAT. If we were paying 2 payee, we are paying 20 times that payee. So when you pay the payee, the same person who is receiving that salary is buying goods. You are producing, he is buying from you. He is renting house, or he is going to a housing scheme. Our president wants to have that housing scheme. For that, we have to have employees. So my request, and to answer you, your future is actually bright. From my point where I'm standing, future is very bright. Yeah, but then we need to have that connectivity. We have a disconnect. It's sometimes, like I say, the disconnect between the boss and the employee. It's a pull and push.
Very good.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have to come to the end of this conversation. Yeah, I mean, we've been here for the last, almost 1 hour, discussing nothing more but, how to drive manufacturing here in Kenya. Lawrence Jenga and Adnan, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you so much
for spending your 1 hour with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, you have heard it from him. I mean, from the two gentlemen, we've been talking about how to drive Kenya's manufacturing agenda and how we are going to deal with the bottlenecks, and you have heard it from the two gentlemen. Our conversation next is on how to deepen artificial intelligence in agriculture. That conversation is coming up next. You're watching a Biz Check. We are back with more. Stay right here.
Go have fun.
No!
Come on, you two only just got here. You can't leave before you've tried the hot springs.
I'm very proud of this team. And I hope, with Mr. Zhan at the helm, you'll keep the momentum going. I made a choice. I chose to break up with you. And I chose to marry her.
Be my girlfriend again. I promise you. I won't leave you alone again.
You broke up with Shen, but you still ask her best friend for help?
We were classmates and friends before I met you, and when we broke up, I didn't change anything.
Danielle got Carolina pregnant.
Is that right?
Christine.
Yes, can you please open?
Trish, huyu mwanamke hata ingia hapa bila ruhusa.
I'm willing to give up on Pete.
Mimi sioni kama Peter anataka kuachana na Christine.
My dear, kwa street upewangi bwana. Unachukuanga bwana.
Na Jackie unachukia Jane?
Wacha niwachie hapo, sitaki maneno.
Aniambie tu Jackie.
Nini umemwambia kunihusu? Hakuna, only good things.
So when are you guys tying the knot?
Yes, babe, when are we tying the knot?
Marriage si rahisi.
Wewe mwenyewe marriage yako haijai work. Sasa hizi advice zote unanipanga ni za nini? Haya. No more trouble in paradise.
Trish, how are you feeling?
Vengeful.
Kadogo tu hivi tu hauna.
Kenyash, trust, faith in one sentence.
When you go to to that hotel, order yourself a plate of ambience and aesthetics.
Please, Julia, please stop misleading her. Stop it.
Kinyash, you're about to become a baby daddy. Yay! And all the fathers in the house, stand up.
Kinyash, you know people are waiting on me to deliver. So call that supplier of yours or I take my business somewhere else.
Zito. Sikiza. Kwanza. Uko kwa ofisi yangu. So punguza sauti yako.
Mr. Zito, kibali tuko nacho ndo hichi hapa. Kutoa katika mjengo. Na kama itashindikana tutatumia nguvu, hata polisi tutaita.
Iteni polisi na mimi nitaita polisi wangu.
Nisikize Mr. Zito. Hautashinda kunizungusha mimi hapa ndani kama mtoto mdogo.
Sasa wewe badala kuja na suluhisho unakuja na maswali zaidi. Unazidi kunipatia matatizo.
Only 21 days. Failure to that, ninashika mali zako zote. Usiku.
We are done with the first hour. Our conversation revolved around, boosting the manufacturing agenda here in Kenya. Time now for our second conversation. This morning, we just want to have a look at how to deepen and how to deploy artificial intelligence in Kenya's agriculture sector. And if I can, address you statistically, you have about 75% of Kenyan farmers are classified as smallholder farmers. And you're talking about 7.5 million people. That's a huge number. And they contribute about 75% of the country's total agricultural output. And so this is a critical mass. And so the question is, how do you mechanize agriculture? How do you employ technology in our agriculture sector? That is the conversation that we're having this morning. Professor Nicholas Ozor is a science, technology, and innovation expert. He's joining us here. He'll be helping us to go around this conversation. Professor, thank you very much for your time. And we also have Dr. Joseph Sang. He's from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agricultural Technology, and he's also an AI expert. Asante sana, Joseph, for your time. I want to start with Prof. Explain to us, what is artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much. Simply put, artificial intelligence is the capacity of machines to perform the cognitive functions that human beings can do, such as reasoning, such as perception, such as thinking, and doing so many other things that human minds can think of in such a way that it will be smarter and more accurate and more productive. So this is the best way to explain artificial intelligence when machines begin to do some of the things that human beings can do and do it even better. What we try to promote is not just artificial intelligence, but what we call responsive or responsible artificial intelligence. Because
responsible.
Which
means there is also the irresponsible.
Yes, there could be responsible artificial intelligence. So, because when we talk about responsible artificial intelligence, we are looking at being able to develop, deploy, and scale artificial intelligence that are lawful, that respect human rights, that will not interfere with your privacy, and will be able to be friendly to the society and to the environment in general. So that is why we try to quickly add that word, responsible, in the kind of artificial intelligence technologies and innovations that we promote, especially for Africa.
Give us an example of how, artificial intelligence can be used irresponsibly.
So if someone is able to monitor your privacy using AI and is able to see you, and then without you giving permission for him to see you, or if someone is able to access your computer, for
without
instance,
your permission,
and be able to retrieve the data that you have in your computer and use it for his or her own personal gains, then the person may have infringed in your own privacy, and this is possible using AI.
And that is what we call infringement of privacy.
That is infringement, and that is irresponsible. And but we know what it can create, and that's why we are promoting responsible artificial intelligence, where machines can be used responsibly to produce goods and services. And remember, we are focusing on agriculture and food systems in this case. So we are focusing on the 4 key components of agriculture and food security, which is in making food available, food availability, making food accessible, ensuring that food reach everyone, and also making food usable or utilizable in such a way that you can process food, store food, and it can serve for a longer time. And then being able to stabilize food in terms of making food policies, in terms of predicting the weather, to be able to guide farmers on when to produce and when not to produce. So these are the things that, among many others, that artificial intelligence can do for you in agriculture and food systems.
We should be coming back to you so that you can take us through these 4 steps, availability, accessibility, usable, and so much. But I want to bring now on board Dr. Sang. Dr. Sang, what is the need of employing AI in our agriculture system?
I think the need of employing AI in our agriculture system is basically to optimize on production. And that is a broad thing that can we talk about. We are looking at being able to improve on the production per unit area, to improve production in terms of controlling diseases, and even adopting more of integrated pest management and everything that's around that farming. So, and that's what we are trying to help our farmers to do.
What is the advantages of, deploying AI in our agriculture sector?
I think there are a number of advantages we can get from deploying AI in our agricultural systems, and from the entire value chain, being able to produce at optimum, being able to handle the issues to do with soil production, diseases, and anything that can affect that production. Yes.
Although you're talking about the 4 facets of agriculture. You've touched on availability, accessibility, the usability. When we talk about availability, what exactly do we mean?
I think I'll take it up from where he stopped. As you know, Africa today is about 1.4 billion people in population.
Yeah.
And research show that we need to increase food production up to 70% if we are to feed this 1.4 billion people.
Increase food production by
70%.
By 70%.
So to produce this food, we need to do...
Are you talking about today or in the future?
As at today.
As at now.
Actually, by 2050, Africa will be 2.6 billion people. So we are talking about 2023, we are about 1.4 billion people. And if we are to feed these people, this population, we need to do things in extraordinary way. Kenya is just 50 million adding to this. Now, to produce optimally, like he was saying, we need to deploy science, technology, and innovation that are responsible to ensure that food is produced in such a way to feed this growing population. We are aware of some vagaries, some distortions that are already affecting food production, such as resource scarcity. We don't have enough money to buy inputs and plant, such as climate change. Of course, we know the impact of flooding, the impact of drought as it is affecting production. We know of conflicts and war. Of course, you know that, for instance, the war in Ukraine and Russia is seriously affecting the availability of wheat, even in Africa here. So, amongst other things, given these conditions, we must do things in such a way that food production will not be affected. And every country needs to conduct its own situational analysis to be able to identify which technologies will fit best for it. We have many other technologies. We even have indigenous technology. Remember, we didn't just exist from nowhere. We have our own way, traditional ways that our parents and grandparents have been able to survive and sustain in feeding themselves. We have mechanical technology, we have biotechnology, we have nanotechnology and all this. But we are saying that artificial intelligence is an emerging technology that has the capacity to transform the entire agricultural sector, to be able to sustain food for our teeming population. And we must not wait for the West to do it and then we copy. We have to join the league now so that what happened to us during the Industrial Revolution, where we waited and people developed technologically, and we have to now be buying technologies at higher costs, will not happen to us again in this emerging technology. So in food production, which is just an aspect of food security, artificial intelligence can help you to predict the yield that you are going to get from a particular production. Take maize, for instance. You are given a particular species, given a particular soil, because AI can help you to determine the soil quality, can help you to determine the content of the soil, can help you to say, given these variables being constant, you are able to get so and so tons of maize from this particular soil if you produce at this level. AI can predict that. AI can tell you when pests and diseases are about to invade your crop or farm. It can predict using so many variables, because that's why we are talking about data in AI. You can't train models by words. You use data to do this. And so AI can help you to know when pests and diseases that reduce the production level are about to attack your farm.
And what I'm getting from you,
able to tackle it.
What I'm getting from you is that deploying AI will help you in the decision-making process, and at the same time it will help you in deploying strategies that will mitigate against losses.
Exactly.
Very good. We'll be coming back to you for more of this. You're watching BizCheck Live from Broadcasting House. Our conversation is around how to deploy artificial intelligence in the agriculture sector. We just want to go to the streets of Nairobi, where the Postal Corporation of Kenya workers, demonstrating and calling for better remuneration. Let's now listen in.
Niko na maombi mbili tu peke yake. Mukikataa nitatii sheria yenu, because you are no sijaomba. Sumuache niombe kwanza. Mimi niko na maombi mbili tu kwenu. Mukikubali nitatii sheria. Mukikataa pia nitatii sheria. Because you are the one who pay me salary, not them. Yes. Na mjue ile pesa yote ni nae, including ile gari nimeona nikiendesha pale, ni yenu. Ile pesa mnasemaga ninapewa brown envelope nini? Watuambie walinipa lini? Even my union dues, nimepewa mwezi wa June vile mmepata yenu mshahara ya June. July sijapewa, August sijapewa, September sijapewa, October sijapewa, hata yangu ni 5 kama yenu. Wako hapa waseme kama Hinga is here, aseme kama mmenipa. So we want to tell you the truth about these things, but we must agree. Tumewashika makende. Tumewashika makende.
Well, that's employees of the Postal Corporation of Kenya, and that's the COB Secretary General there addressing members of the Postal Corporation of Kenya who are protesting against delays in paying their salaries and, of course, calling for a better remuneration. We are back in studio. Our conversation is around deploying AI in our agriculture sector. We're in the company of Dr. Joseph Sang. He's from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, as well as Professor Nicholas Ozo, who is a science, technology and innovation expert working with the African Technology Policy Studies Network. Well, before we went for that break, Ozo, you're taking us through the advantages of deploying AI in our agriculture sector, and we are taking us the various facets of food availability, accessibility, usability, and so much. Help us understand, what is the role of the African Technology Policy Studies Network in advancing the AI agenda in our agriculture sector?
Thank you very much. ATPS, that is African Technology Policy Studies Network, is a transdisciplinary network of researchers, policymakers, civil society actors, and the private sector actors that promote the generation, the dissemination, the use and mastery of science, technology, and innovation for Africa's development, for environmental sustainability, and global inclusion. ATPS is the premier science, technology, and innovation organization in Africa, established about 4 decades ago, with its headquarters based here in Nairobi, but we work across 30 countries and with institutional partnerships across the 54 countries in Africa. We also have diaspora chapters in the UK, Australia, and the United States of America. So because of the mandate that we have to promote science, technology, and innovation, not only in research and capacity building, but also in policy making, we have been lucky to be selected to be leading in the development, deployment, and scaling of science, technology, and innovation on the continent, and particularly the artificial intelligence in agriculture and food systems. And it is on this initiative, which is being funded by the International Development Research Center of Canada, IDRC, and CEDA, Sweden, we have been able to identify other collaborators and partners across Africa. Currently, we are working and funding about 10 innovators across Africa, and luckily Kenya has, we have 2 of them in Kenya who we are supporting and working with to develop and deploy artificial intelligence in Kenya, because we know that this is a new and emerging technology. There is need to provide some seed funds for and build capacity of people to be able to deploy this. This is a new technology, and not everybody has the capacity. So our effort is, one, to support in identifying those who have the capacity and strengthen their capacity to be able to develop, deploy, and scale AI in agriculture. And also support, because we know for you to be able to make AI responsible, it must be guided by policy. We are also looking at developing and supporting African governments like Kenya to develop AI policies and regulations, so that there will be frameworks set in place to guide those who are entering into this new area, so that they will use it responsibly. As we speak, Africa has not really embraced AI development and deployment, because in terms of maybe policy and regulations, because only 2 countries in Africa today has AI policies, like Ghana and Rwanda, they have. Kenya has a good opportunity because the investment of Kenya in R&D is among the highest in Africa, 0.8% of the GDP. And they are working towards getting 2% of the GDP to R&D by 2030, according to the Constitution. So they have good opportunity to latch into this, but there is something they need also to do. It is highly important for the government to create a separate Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, so that they will be able to delve wholly into developing STI issues that will help to support other, because of course you know the Constitution is based on the pillar STI. STI is the pillar of the Constitution of Kenya. And if they want to utilize the best of the science, technology and innovation technologies and all those, there is need to create a separate ministry. And this is policy that can now take charge of regulating research and innovation around artificial intelligence.
You're talking about an institution that has been there for the last 4 decades. Yes. You're looking at 40 years. You have you operate in 34 countries.
30 countries at the moment.
30 countries.
Partnerships in the remaining.
And you have footprint in the next 54 countries.
Yes, yes.
I heard you say that you receive your operational cost is from the donor community. And so that challenge then comes. So how then do you implement a concept and project that benefit the African continent while you are getting funding from foreign missions who have their interests that needs to be taken care of?
Thank you very much. This is a very interesting question because, and I will take you a little bit down the memory lane. In 1980, the African heads of state had a Lagos Plan of Action where they agreed that every country shall invest 1% of their GDP to research and development. From 1980 to now is how many years?
Looking at 43 years.
Or more. Those years, there has been no country on the continent from 1980 to now that have been able to invest 1% of their GDP to research and development on the continent, generally.
Kenya, it's 0.8%?
Kenya is even at the top with 0.8%, showing they are doing well. And there is direct correlation between investment in this research and development, that is the money that you bring out to support R&D or science and technology, and also your ability to develop innovations or your innovativeness. That if you look at the 2023 Innovative Index, Kenya is number 8. We have countries like Mauritius as number 1, South Africa, even Cape Verde. Because today, Cape Verde is among our beneficiaries in artificial intelligence in agriculture, and they are today flying drones. Rwanda is flying drones. Kenya is not yet flying drones and using drones to deploy technologies, to deploy services like in Rwanda we hear and we see they use drones to deliver healthcare in rural areas where you may not be easily accessible. Same with agriculture. But and that's why I talked about policy, because it is policy that will guide this. Now, for the fact that African governments have not taken a good leap in terms of supporting science, technology, and innovation, the African Union is doing their best. But we also know that the African Union, most of their funds don't come from the African countries.
They come from the continent.
They come from Europe.
Actually, almost 70% of their budget.
You have said that. And that shows you that we have not yet arrived. And therefore, when we see an opportunity to tap into emerging technologies like this, the only duty we owe the continent is to ensure that it takes care of local content. We will work with the donors to say, we are not going to develop this artificial intelligence to monitor your own crops, the crops that you put preferences to. We are deploying it for our own local crops, so that is the crop that will, when I say crop, I mean crop, livestock, and any other area in agriculture that is peculiar to us as indigenous people. So we are going to tell them, or we tell them, that this AI will be deployed for agricultural production, utilization, access, stability that are of interest to our countries, not specifically to, and where we don't agree, for us at the ATPS, we normally say we are not able to work with you because the interest must be mutual. So we are not ashamed to be working with countries who want to support Africa, not to lag behind in embracing science, technology, and innovation, but we are working with them to develop mutual pathway that they will be happy and we will be happy as well. Because that technology is to serve Africa.
Very well. Dr. Sang, I want to hear from you. I mean, when people, hear technology being mentioned, there's always that tension, between technology and human beings, because in some instances, human beings are afraid of technology because technology comes to straighten things and to make processes much simpler and easier. So is AI here to take the job of our farmers?
Thank you for that good question. I think coming from University of Agriculture and Technology, we embrace technology, and I would straight away answer your question that AI will not come and take the job of the farmers, but it will help the farmers in doing their work. I would like to point out a few examples that we are doing and working with ATPS that will maybe explain that. You know that agriculture, unlike the manufacturing before, is contributing about 33% of our GDP. And so the agriculture plays an important role in our economy. We have partnered with other private organizations and vegetable farmers in Machakos to try and deploy AI. And this AI is helping them to address what Professor here has raised, the issue of diseases. For this farmer who grows tomato, and his tomato is usually production is curtailed by presence of pests that attack their diseases, their tomatoes. We want them to be able to adopt the AI technology, of course, with our support and support of our private partner, and working with them to be able to adopt this AI technology and be able to know, okay, given the climate change and everything that is happening around that, they can be able to predict when they are likely to be affected by this pest. That help them in their production in this sense that when you know the likelihood of the diseases, your reaction will be measured. You know, okay, I'm at this level of a disease attack, I need to prepare or I need to intervene. And we are working with them, teaching them on the various interventions that AI is telling us maybe at this level, this is the kind of intervention that you are supposed to adopt. And also we can predict even maybe down the line when the diseases are likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do we have an example of a farm where, AI has been deployed and the results are showing?
Yes, I think there are many farms that have adopted various forms of AI in Kenya, but what we are doing currently, we are piloting with the farmers. Actually,
with small-scale farmers.
The 75% that you talk about, the small-scale farmers. We have about 200 farmers that we are teaching them that the results of this AI can inform their decision, how their reaction on attack of their tomatoes, and how they can be able to prepare in advance. So that is how we want to see this technology being adopted by the small-scale farmers going forward, and hopefully we can get some good results.
It has always been said that it's very hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And when you look at the average age of a Kenyan farmer, you're looking at about 60 years.
Yes.
And here you are now trying to reorient their minds, to focus on the emerging technologies and teaching them new ways and new habits of farming. Is this a walk in the park?
It is not, but interestingly, we are getting some traction. We had a training of about 50 farmers yesterday, and I think 40% of them showed up with a smartphone. And we were able to link them to data online to try and tell them look at your farm, when you get this kind of information, and it tells you even how to react depending on the information you're getting. And yes, I know we are saying the age of the farmer is way well advanced, but we have this also few people who are coming in as youth and catalyzing the whole process. So they are adapting the technology and influencing even the older people to adapt the technology. And it's going far and wide. We now know that even weather data is being shared across in the village with WhatsApp. And we hope this is also how the information that we generate from the AI technology can be shared across the village and inform the decision making by this group of many farmers, so that they all have that mutual protection or mutual decision making against pests and diseases that affect their crops.
During your training, and you're talking about yesterday, you had about 50 people,
yes,
showing up for the training.
Yeah.
What is emerging as the number one challenge that you are facing with the farmers?
Yes, I think the number one challenge, but the opportunity first, is the farmers are willing to learn. They are willing to adapt any technology that will help them to improve on their production.
Yeah.
Of course, now the challenge that you have asked about is what everybody faces when you are trying to deploy the technology. That the age of the farmers, they are way advanced, and technology may not be their piece of cake, that adapting it, they need more support. So, and of course, the availability of technology. So JQuat and the private partners, GRI, and having moved together, they are able to avail this technology to them. But without that, they are not able to access this technology. But and also, them have that know-how could be missing. But we are able to go to them, take calls to the great extent of sitting down with them, even speaking to them in their vernacular and trying to explain to them, this is how the technology will work, this is how the technology will help them.
Yes. The architects of artificial intelligence, they are global. And so their thought process is highly global. And so when they are coming up with applications, when they are even in the execution, I mean, it's all in foreign language.
Yes.
And so now trying to transform that information to somebody using the local languages and local understanding, I mean, that is definitely a major challenge. And so how are you handling that?
Thank you. I think I agree with you that the technology has been developed globally, and could be beyond us, as he implied that this is technology that is foreign and the donor is funded by donor. But I think it gives challenge and opportunity to our institution like Jomo Kenyatta University of Architecture and Technology to be able to bring this to a local context, like what we are doing now with farmers, to make sure that they understand or they be able to provide the information. We interpret the information for them, and for them to get the message and interpret it for their good. So it is, I think, our institution here locally have to really focus and try to make this palatable for our people. Yes.
And during your training, and I'm sure you have noticed these, that most of the farmers, they have feature phones. most of them, they don't have smartphones.
Yes.
They have feature phones, which is cheaper and more convenient for them. But for the information to be transmitted, I mean, it has to be used to using smartphones.
Yes.
How are you working with that transition?
It's true that in the village, and by the way, the training is also going on now and tomorrow. So with this group of, we have split them into groups. We have been lucky to have a few that have, almost 70% that have showed up with the right phones, which means the penetration of
70%?
Yeah. In my
did you pick them? Was it random or you picked them?
My estimation, the people who showed up with the right phone. Okay, Kadhana vegetable growers is actually, I can say, a progressive farmer group. They have been working together in groups and trying to work together for a while. Maybe they are not representative of a typical farmer out there, that most of them are being exposed to technology. So for them to 70% to have showed up with smartphone is something good. But maybe for other farmers, this is something that we could consider in terms of policy. And I think the president has talked of something to avail smartphone in the country at a cheaper rate. Hopefully that is revisited and made available with preference to farmers, so that this information can go to them and increase their contribution to the GDP from that 3% to something upward of that.
The phone that we are talking about is retailing at about 7,000 shillings.
Yep.
On top of that, you have to buy data.
Yes.
And other related costs. And so what I'm trying to pick up your mind on is, apart from capacitating farmers, with information,
yes,
do you go beyond that?
I think that is a challenge that we're asking ourselves. After this farmer now invest on a smartphone or be able to invest on this information, what else can they get? So we are looking at trying to diversify our app that we have developed for them, to be able to be a center of total information, not just for the pest that we are interested in, but we want to expand this so that this farmer can really get all the information from their smartphone, just to increase on that use, and hopefully for other farmers to be able to make it more useful and worth investing the 7,000 that we are talking about. It's not, for now, I agree, it's not worth investing 7,000 on a smartphone just to know about a pest.
Precisely.
But if we are able to provide more information, maybe it could increase the value. And that is our next agenda.
And this is why I want to hear from Ozo, because Ozo is the man with the money. Okay, all right.
I'm still looking for it. I'm still looking for it.
You're still looking for it. I mean, money would never be enough. But do you think it is high time now? We move now beyond arming our farmers with the right information and now providing them with what we call the supporting infrastructure. And the supporting infrastructure could be in terms of hardware or software. And software, I'm talking about maybe financial resources. Hardware could be mobile phones, other toolkits and so much, so that you ensure that you capacitate the farmer from point A to point Z.
Yeah, I think it's very possible, because it has been done elsewhere. The current president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, when he was the Minister for Agriculture in Nigeria, provided smartphones for farmers in Nigeria, free of charge. And this helped farmers to access inputs, to access information, to link up with the extension system, to be able to get information relevant to their production, processing, and utilization of agricultural goods and services. So it has been done before, and it can still be done again. But let me remind you that the farmers are not as poor as you think. Studies have shown that smartphone penetration in countries like Kenya is about 85% to 90%. So, and for us, sometimes when we go to
Are you talking about mobile phone penetration or smartphone?
I said our smartphone, not mobile phone. because mobile phone is everywhere. There is hardly a family, there's no family you will come to that you will not get someone having a mobile phone. So don't think that the farmers are that poor, because we have done some training that required smartphone across 5 countries in Africa using our technology called Land PKS, Land Potential Knowledge System, which we try to make farmers to access climatic data and soil information in situ, wherever they are.
Yeah.
Now, we worked in Tunisia, Nigeria, Malawi, Cameroon, Kenya, and we were able to find out that wherever we go to train farmers, ranging from 200 to 300 farmers, over 80% of them will always have smartphones. And when you ask them, how come you are this old and you are a farmer and you have a smartphone? He said, do you think that if I don't live in the city, my son, my daughter is living in the city and he has bought me this smartphone and is using it? So, in as much as we know that government can subsidize this facility to enable them access information, especially as we are talking about, because information is power. AI goes with information, goes with these smartphones. So government can take it as a point of duty to subsidize mobile phones, smartphones, especially targeting the farmers. But one other thing I want to add is the scale of, economy of scale, which the manufacturers mentioned earlier in the morning today. If these farmers are able to form themselves into cooperative groups, they will be able to easily access support and even grants and funds from institutions like us, because we have supported some. That's how we're able to support them, and we are supporting the Jomo Kenyatta University with Geospatial Research Institute. We are supporting Strathmore University and some other institutions in Kenya and organizations who have formed themselves, into groups.
Very well.
Because you are able to now access funds. You'll be more legitimate because it's not like an individual, so you can be traced, and so on and so forth.
Very good. We need to disabuse that notion that, lack of a mobile phone, of a smartphone, is not a sign of poverty. There are people who are very much contented with a feature phone because their business is just to call and to text, and that's all. They don't want to go beyond that point. And I also want to emphasize the fact that, according to the Communications Authority of Kenya, statistics, the smartphone penetration in Kenya is about 65%. It has risen from 51% in a span of 2 years. And the other information is the fact that, the penetration of smartphones is highly in urban areas. And we know that farming happens in the rural areas. And so it's a challenge to all of us to ensure that, apart from providing farmers with right information, we also provide them with the necessary tools to help them advance that agenda. Gentlemen, I can see time is well gone. It's almost coming to 7 minutes to 12 o'clock when we have Kurunzi Mashinani bulletin, which is coming up. And so we want to thank you this morning for joining us and, of course, for sharing us this insight. We'll continue to engage more, in the future. Otherwise, your time is highly appreciated. Asante sana. Very good. Well, we have been talking about advancing artificial intelligence in Kenya's agriculture sector. We have been in the company of Professor Nicholas Ozor. He's a science, technology, as well as innovation expert. And Dr. Joseph Sang, he's an AI expert from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, joining us this morning. The first hour of our conversation was around driving the manufacturing agenda here in Kenya. Well, 2 hours down, we come to the end of this check this morning. Thank you so very much indeed for your time. O'Brien Kimani is my name. Kurunzi and Tamarini is coming up next. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Hii investigation sasa ile wewe limaliza, wewe lipata mimi ni nani ya marehemu,
wewe ni ndugu yake,
na wewe lipata hii msichana Lucy ni nani yake,
ni mtoto yake. Hata kama sio biological, yeye ameadapt na akachukua hiyo majukumu ya mzazi kwake.
Yes, I think that is correct because automatically wewe find out ya kwamba yeye si part of the family.
Kwa hivyo wewe unajua huyu si mtoto wa ndugu yako?
As far as I am concerned, huyu si mtoto ya...
Una uhakika gani? Na mbona walikuwa wenye mali waliwacha urithi yeye ndiye achukue? Mbona hawakukuandikia wewe kama wewe ndio ulikuwa unahusika?
This was a mistake. And after this case, I'm going to challenge that will in a court.
Objection in your honor. I'm so sorry.
Sasa huyu naye ni nani?
I'm very late.
Wewe ni nani?
I'm a lawyer.
Lawyer wa nani?
Professional mheshimiwa.
Lawyer wa nani?
Wa makofia mheshimiwa. So, can we go to Camp 63?
Whom are you representing? Wewe.
This is the first time it's happening in Africa. That's where we can measure up where we really are.
Acaba velha, ficou a tonseira. Enyimba is Nigeria.
I want Mamelodi Sundowns to conquer Africa.
Angola style is fighting and very fast players.
TP Mazembe ni ekipi isha kufanya histoire monde mzima.
عندنا طاقات كبيرة، عندنا طاقات لعابة كبار.
Simba's Tanzania.
أي بطولة هي بالنسبة لنا بتبقى أهم بطولة.
What's in Your Kitchen, a show that celebrates Kenyan and African dishes. Rusha. At Pelelani Annex Naivasha, she shared a bit of her life background story and her cooking skill. Be careful. Yes, because I've seen some fire jump there. That is called flambeing. Flambeing. So tukiona moto tujue ni flambeing. Chele yetu iko sawa? Iko sawa? Tumalize.
Sasa ni kwenda tukule. Lakini hauendi.
Mimi siendi.
Hauendi.
Hiyo tutaongea kwa meza kwanza.
Sawa.
Salivate this delicious meal on your screen while taking notes for the recipe. Every Sunday, only on KBC.
Car, go have fun.
No.
Come on, you two only just got here. You can't leave before you've tried the hot springs.
I'm very proud of this team. And I hope, with Mr. Jean at the helm, you'll keep the momentum going. I made a choice. I chose to break up with you. And I chose to marry her.
Be my girlfriend again. I promise you. I won't leave you alone again.
You broke up with Shen, but you still ask her best friend for help?
We were classmates and friends before I met you, and when we broke up, I didn't change anything.
Trust, faith, in one sentence.
When you go to that hotel, order yourself a plate of ambience and aesthetics. Please, Julia, please stop misleading her. Stop it. Kinyash, you're about to become a baby daddy. Yay! And all the fathers in the house, stand up.
Kinyash, you know people are waiting on me to deliver. So call that supplier of yours or I take my business somewhere else.
usiku. Zito.
Sikiza. Kwanza uko kwa ofisi yangu, so punguza sauti yako.
Mr. Zito, kibali tuko nacho ndo hichi hapa, kutoa katika mjengo. Na kama itashindikana tutatumia nguvu, hata polisi tutaita.
Iteni polisi na mimi nitaita polisi wangu.
Nisikize Mr. Zito. Hautashinda kunizungusha mimi hapa ndani kama mtoto mdogo.
Sasa wewe badala kuja na suluhisho unakuja na maswali zaidi. Unazidi kunipatia matatizo.
Only 21 days. Failure to that, ninashika mali zako zote.
Fedea usiku.
Naam, ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban mtazamaji popote ulipo, ni Alhamisi nyingine tunakongamana hapa ni kufahamisha na Gavana Kimani wa Matangi kwa shutuma za uongozi mbaya, uongozi wa kiimla na kuhujumu maendeleo, na jinsi mwanahabari wetu Abdiaziz
hata kabla ya bunge la Seneti halijaanza kusikiliza hoja kuhusu kung'atuliwa kwa gavana wa kaunti ya Meru